So when you look at the newspaper ad, since you don't read papers, anyway, as I was saying, imagine you're somebody else. Use some empathy as you're evaluating whether the ad is going to have an impact and really work on someone and move them along the purchase funnel. A nice little visualization of empathy is that. Getting into someone else's head and skin and heart and whatever. I picked this up just kind of running around on the web. This is interesting. This is by someone who writes direct mail copy, saying that Carrie from Sex and the City is her target. Going on and on about last night's bad date and you can't get her attention. You keep saying her name, but she ignores you and doesn't stop talking. Your only solution to get her to shut up is to get into her head. You have to get into her head and think like her to find out how to get her to be quiet and leave your office so you can get some work done. You have to be Carrie Bradshaw to figure this out. So how do you become Carrie? You whip out a pair of Manolos and shout, Carrie, these are for you. And now you've got Carrie's attention. What does an overly talkative shopaholic have to do with marketing design? Keep reading. Every potential customer is like Carrie. They're going to do whatever they want unless you persuade them to listen to you. You have to get into their head. Think like them. Be them. Be your own audience. Now, guys, a little hint there. What's the name of this class again? Audiences and Media. So you are being the audience every time you evaluate one of our media types in my media journey. And if the audience isn't exactly like you have to imagine what they are and create a bit of a backstory for them. Look at your piece, look at the ad that you're analyzing from the eyes of your prospects. Is what they see going to make them do something, whatever the ad wants them to do? I want you to use that empathy when you evaluate advertising. What did we cover today? Talked about newspapers. We looked at spending. We saw that newspapers are not growing. They are going down in terms of spending. They have been for some time now, and that trend is continuing. We looked at a history actually from the beginning of printing. I like to go back and really, if you're going to do something, do it. So we got a darn good look at history of newspapers, from little 2-page weeklies printed by Benjamin Franklin to the yellow journalism of William Randolph Hearst to USA Today. And we talked a lot about the importance of reporting to our culture, and that freedom of the press, not freedom of the video, freedom of the press is mentioned in our First Amendment for a reason. Papers serve a vital function. Reporting serves a vital function. Talked about buying newspapers, that there are some national papers, even though they have limited circulation. You're not going to reach a big percentage of the country, but the people you reach tend to be influencers, with the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, etc. The rest of the newspapers are local, and you buy them by figuring out what markets you're going to be spending money in, and then going to SRDS, to the website, and paying your subscription fee, and going market by market and seeing what newspapers are available. Weekly suburban papers in certain parts of the market, or daily metro editions. What day of the week do you want? Do you want Sunday? What are the sections that are available for you to be in? What are the content choices for you to have your ad in? What size ad do you want? We didn't get into that too much, but there are lots of options and sizes. Obviously, full-page ads tend to be expensive. Also remember that color reproduction is not always the greatest in newspapers. Also remember that your reach basically happens, your impact, in one day, and after that it's gone. So if you're going to start to buy newspapers, don't do it just once. You better plan on having some kind of presence there and building some credibility as kind of being in that paper, and don't just pop up one time and think that's going to do a lot for you. We talked about the industry We just looked at one trade association. They don't seem to have a lot of trade associations. It's the NNA, the Newspaper National Association. We talked about some leading companies, Gannett, Gatehouse merging, Hearst, Tribune. We talked about the fact that some wealthy individuals like Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett are buying newspapers. Warren Buffett owns the Omaha paper in his hometown. He also bought the Buffalo News several years ago. He likes newspapers, by the way, as a business if it's the only paper in town, and it's got a good investigative staff. The future, online, as it is for most print media types, and editorial functions being taken over by robots, some of them. Probably not the investigative reporting part, at least not in the foreseeable future, but some other more rote kind of writing could be written by robots. Wow, say that 5 times fast. Next class, you're going to do an MMJ on newspapers. Over and out. Oh, hold on. I'm going to insert, that's John Lennon reading his newspaper. You remember we started with, I read the news today, oh boy. And there he is in his house when he's in the time of Sergeant Pepper. He's got the haircut and the glasses. He's on his favorite couch. He was famous for wanting to, he just kind of lay on that couch. There's a TV across from it. He'd read the papers from cover to cover pretty much, watch the news on the TV, but he loved newspapers. And I'm going to, as the last thing here in this lecture, have a version of the song from YouTube, A Day in the Life in Sergeant Pepper's I Read the News Today, oh boy. Over and out.